February 28, 2026, 2:14 a.m. in Tehran. Israeli F-35s cross Iranian airspace as American bombers, already airborne from Gulf bases, move into position. Within hours, Iran's supreme leader is dead. The war that would consume the Middle East for the next 4 months has begun. But 48 hours earlier, far from Tehran, satellites tracked something else entirely. Cargo manifests show ships diverting toward Iranian terminals. According to regional intelligence reports, Chinese-made loitering munitions and air defense systems had already reached Iran before a single American bomb fell. The question nobody in Washington was asking that night was simple. If Beijing knew this war was coming, why was it already arming the target? But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to March 2021. That's when China and Iran signed a sweeping, comprehensive cooperation agreement, tying Chinese investment to guaranteed Iranian oil for the next 25 years. China is the world's largest energy importer. Iran, strangled by Western sanctions, needed a buyer who wouldn't ask questions. That same year, China gave Iran access to Beidou, its military-grade satellite navigation system. In June 2023, the US State Department sanctioned a Chinese procurement network, including Iran's own defense attaché in Beijing, for funneling electronic components into Tehran's missile and drone programs. In May 2025, Washington sanctioned more Chinese and Hong Kong firms, this time for supplying carbon fiber to Iran's Revolutionary Guard missile units. The relationship wasn't secret, it simply wasn't being watched closely enough. Then came February 28, 2026. The United States and Israel launched a coordinated assault that killed Iran's supreme leader and gutted its military command structure. According to analysts at Modern Diplomacy, Beijing's official response was diplomatic condemnation. Its real response, intelligence assessments suggest, started before the war even began. Through March and April, according to Atlantic Council research, Chinese-made engines, navigation chips, and fiber-optic guidance systems kept flowing into Iranian drone and missile factories. A January 2026 report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies found that Chinese-supplied components had already contributed to damage at 228 US military targets across the Middle East. Negotiations reportedly continued for China to supply Iran with CM-302 supersonic anti-ship missiles, weapons capable of threatening US naval forces in the Gulf. There was not an accident. Washington's answer wasn't more bombs. It was paperwork. The US Treasury expanded sanctions against Chinese shipping networks accused of moving sanctioned Iranian oil and missile precursor chemicals, including ammonium perchlorate, into Revolutionary Guard supply lines. According to JINSA, the Trump administration directly linked Chinese oil purchases to Iranian terror financing. Beijing's response was defiant. It publicly pledged to protect Chinese firms hit by American sanctions for supporting Iran. Israel pushed Washington to target Chinese suppliers directly, not just Iranian end users. Gulf states, sheltered under American security guarantees for decades, quietly began examining missile fragments recovered from their own soil for Chinese components. The timing was not a coincidence. Every week the war dragged on. Chinese resupply lines kept Iran's military breathing. But here's what most coverage missed entirely. China wasn't only protecting an energy partner, Every Iranian missile that survived a US Patriot interceptor or slipped past Israel's aero defense system handed Chinese military analysts something money can't easily buy: live combat data on how America's most advanced weapons actually perform under fire. The People's Liberation Army has spent the last decade preparing for a possible future confrontation over Taiwan, watching Washington's missile defenses tested in real combat against Iranian weapons is intelligence no peacetime exercise could ever replicate. Layer that over discounted Iranian crude still reaching Chinese refineries through indirect shipping routes, despite the sanctions, and the incentive becomes obvious. China didn't need Iran to win this war. China needed this war to continue. So what happens next? If history is any guide, this pattern won't stop on its own. Soviet arms flowing into North Vietnam, Iranian drones flowing into Russia's war on Ukraine. Third-party supply chains have a long, documented history of extending conflicts rather than ending them. Analysts at the Atlantic Council and JINSA both warn that without direct consequences for the Chinese companies enabling this pipeline, the resupply will simply outlast whatever ceasefire eventually gets signed. For viewers in the US and UK, this isn't a distant story. The Strait of Hormuz alone carries roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Every month this conflict continues, that choke point stays at risk, and Western forces in the region remain exposed to weapons partly built with the very Chinese components Washington spent years trying to block. So who actually wins here? Iran gets to keep fighting a war it couldn't sustain alone. China gets combat intelligence on American weapons systems, discounted energy, and leverage it can use later, all without firing a single shot itself. The clearest loser is the sanctions system the United States has relied on for decades, now exposed as something a determined buyer can simply root around. This was never just a story about one war in the Middle East. It's a story about how power actually moves in 2026, quietly, through cargo manifests and shell companies, far from any camera on the battlefield. Do you think sanctions can ever truly stop a supplier as determined as Beijing? Or is the system already broken? Let us know in the comments what you think. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching.